Aye.
All committee members are present.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Kamer, the first item, would you like to continue to take time on the place on Waterloo Road?
Yes, please. I appreciate it.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to recommend that we take time on the agenda, move into the new listed legislation. Plus, I'd like to entertain a motion. We accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, the ayes have it. First item that's up for, actually the new list of legislation. Ms. Viviano?
Item number 1 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish used auto sales at 1475 Maslin Road and declaring an emergency.
Refer.
Item number 2 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a two-family dwelling at 480 Bell Street and declaring an emergency.
Refer.
Item number 3 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to establish a two-family dwelling at 894 North Main Street and declaring an emergency.
Refer.
Item number 4 is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a commercial addition at 1477 Copley Road and declaring an emergency.
Refer.
Item number 5 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of city-owned property located in Goodyear Heights and Ellett, Summit County parcel ID number 6821816, 6736026, 6736027, 6736028, 6811095, and 6811096 to Integrity New Construction LLC pursuant to the city's Welcome Home Akron program in order to facilitate the productive reuse of the property, construct 6 new homes, and reduce the costs to the city and taxpayers in maintaining vacant lots, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Messner.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you. So this legislation is to offer up 6 parcels of land on which it's going to be a little tricky. There's going to be 6 new homes built. 5 of those parcels will end up with 4 homes on them because one of the parcels needs to be combined with another one. And then the 6th parcel will be split into 2 parcels for 2 new homes. So 4 of those homes will go up in Goodyear Heights, and then 2 of them will be going up in Ellett. And if it would be all right with the chair, we have Mr. Kiffin here from Integrity New Construction, who'd just like to say a couple words.
Oh, thank you very much. You had called beforehand, so no problem. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, please step to the microphone if you would and introduce yourself and hit the button first. Thank you. Welcome to Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council.
Thank you. Good to meet you all. It's nice. I was telling David to see people like Sarah as I'm getting emails and these things and being able to put faces with the people that I'm getting at. So I like that because I'm a people person. And we wanted to come forward and introduce ourselves. My name is Rick Kippen. I live at 3206 South Jackson Boulevard in Uniontown, Ohio. I've been building in Summit County since about 2006, 2007. And although against words from my family and my son, it's like, Dad, what are we doing? Why are we building on Robert Street in Akron? You know, this doesn't make sense to him. He's young. And I says, well, son, we're gonna lift it up to the Lord and we're gonna go ahead and do this. And it's been amazing to see the welcoming and being able to build back into Akron, because I've been doing it for quite some time, but just one here, one there. And the opportunity has come forth, and we're really, really excited to come alongside the city and to come in here and to continue to build into new homes for the people in Akron that can have ownership, pride in ownership, that we can put houses on these streets that have been sitting there with nothing on them. And so we are going all in with the city of Akron because we see you guys are as well. And so we're really, really excited to get started on this. So we look forward to the opportunity to continue doing what we've been doing, but on a bigger scale. 1s and 2s are nice, but Akron needs housing. People need housing. And so we're here to do that very thing. So I just wanted to come and say hello and introduce ourselves.
Thank you so much for your commitment to our city. We certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, you're right. We do need housing. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Messner. Is consent agenda okay with this, or would you prefer that we pass it?
A consent agenda would be fine, sir.
Is that okay? Any questions or comments from anyone? Is there a recommendation for consent agenda?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, the ayes have it. Thank you again for coming down. We appreciate all you do. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And
likewise to you all.
thank you. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Our next committee today will be the Parks and Recreation Committee, and it will begin at 1:45. Those committee members are Connor, Lombardo, Bolden, Hannah, and Boys. Again, that's the Parks and Recreation Committee, and it will begin at 1:45. Thank you. It's 1:45, and our next committee meeting of the day is the Parks and Recreation Committee. Those committee members are Connor, Lombardo, Bolden, Hannah, and Boyes. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from our previous meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have one piece coming before us this morning. It's an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into contract or contracts with Tom Todd Ideas, Inc. for a partnership with the City of Akron in the Creative Akron Summer Program for 2025. Mr. Lesh?
Greeting, Madam Chair, members of council. This is our annual summer camp that we bring before you. This is going to, we're going to provide this recreational opportunity to our youth here in the city. And I have with us Joel Harris, who is the executive dreamer of Tom Todd's, and he is going to just share a snapshot of what's going to be provided this summer. So if you don't mind, I'm going to allow Joel to share with you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate all of your time. We've been so grateful for the partnership. Over last summer was summer number 5 of partnering with the City of Akron to provide these excellent opportunities for middle schoolers in the City of Akron to explore and understand both the assets and the challenges that exist within the community, and then to come up with real, insightful solutions and responses to those. Last summer was an excellent summer of other programming, and I'm excited to also share with you that we have students from last summer that are continuing to work on a project. They're calling it Pinning It Akron, and it was an idea come out of last summer's camp that they're creating neighborhood-specific promotional materials and to represent the different communities that are in this proud community. And so they continue to work with our team. This summer, we're excited to be expanding to 4 different sessions. We really looked at the feedback that's been provided to us through campers, families, and the community. And so we're able to offer 4 different sessions. Some of those are 2-week sessions, some of those are 1-week sessions, and located at 4 different of the community centers throughout the City of Akron. Those community centers are specifically Elliott Community Center, Summit Lake, Patterson Park, and Firestone Park. And so we're really excited about expanding these geography, because I know that was one of the supports that the council had sort of given to us and being able to do that this summer. So Mr. Lash, Ms. Schmokel, and their team have been wonderful to work with. So happy to answer any questions about camps for the summer.
Thank you.
Any questions from committee members? Go ahead, Mr. Jana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Name those centers again, the locations.
Yep. We're at Elliott, Summit Lake, Patterson Park, and Firestone Park. When we originally started the partnership, we were at Summit Lake, and then last year we expanded into adding the Vincent House, but this year we're back on all recreation and parks community centers and spread out more broadly across the city.
How will the children, the young adults get from the East Akron neighborhood to one of the facilities, Elliott, Summit Lake, Firestone Park? How will they get from that area to one of these facilities?
We do not provide transportation to or from camp on the day in terms of attendance for campers. We do provide all of the inside of camp transportation. So when we go out into the community and visit sites, come to any part of the community to explore, we provide that transportation. So we work with families to assess what their transportation needs and where we can offer support, so we do, but we're not able to provide transportation for individual families specifically.
Are you planning on expanding in the future to other areas, or are you just, were these the same areas that you had last year? Because I'm not familiar with the program.
No, last year we were at Summit Lake Community Center and then in the Middlebury neighborhood, which is where the Vincent House is. So that's why we're excited about this is starting that expanding. When we originally started these camps 6 years ago, I believe, is just at Summit Lake, and then have looked to sort of expand geographically. So I'd be happy to explore that continued expansion. We definitely want to see this opportunity provided to as many Akron youth as possible. So always open to being responsive and engaging with the Recreation and Parks team to look at what best fits their facilities and scheduling to make that happen. Thank you.
How many students do you serve in this, or how many in these camps?
So for each week of camp, there's spots for about 25 different campers
Okay, that's in each camp, or that's all camp?
in each camp.
Should about
So
25 kids for,
4 different sessions, so
it's a 4-week.
right around 100 different middle schoolers from the city of Akron.
So it's 25 per camp?
Correct.
Okay, so it's 100 kids, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Yep.
For 4 weeks?
2 of those sessions will run across 2 weeks, so 7 days spread across 2 weeks, and 2 of the sessions would run 4 days in 1 week periods. So it's actually, from previous summers, it's an expanded number of days overall. Part of what we were responding to is trying to your point, sir, to be in more places in the city of Akron, and so that meant we have to be able to move our camp.
I understand.
So we were trying to, that's why the weird number of days spread across different weeks, trying to allow
So
for those
2 and then
moving
4 in
days.
different ones? So-
Yep.
And it's for 2 weeks, or just 2 days and then 4 days?
Some of the sessions are 7 days total, so 4 days the first week, 3 days the second week. And then
Okay.
some of the sessions are 4 days, all wrapped up in 1 week.
Okay.
Sorry about the confusion on that.
Hours, is it 8 to 4, is it noon
9
to-
a.m. to 3 p.m.
9 to 3?
Yeah,
Okay, just curious. Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you. How do you advertise for this so the middle schoolers know?
Yeah, so we work very closely year-round with Akron Public Schools. We also actively advertise through social media and just sort of generally in the community. We've been part of the summer promotion activities through United Way and those other partnerships, and then we're a very active partner with Youth Success Summit and Summit Education Initiative to make sure that we're working. So we work with a lot of other youth development organizations as well, believing in the web of support where every kid needs lots of caring adults in their lives, and so we try and work across a wide array of organizations.
So you wouldn't have a problem selling out, probably. I mean,
No, we filled
25 might have a waiting list, right?
Yes, we filled every slot every year that we've offered camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just wanted to applaud your efforts. I am a beneficiary of this program in multiple ways. My son went through it 2 years at Summit Lake and had a great time. Our current Akron Parks Challenge recipient from last year, Prentice Park, grew out of a program that I worked with our local Tom Todd students at Ennis Middle School on. So it's nice to see that some of these projects are actually coming to fruition. And how are you planning to stay engaged with those? I mean, I understand you're not providing programming to that end, but I think it's important that we kind of embrace the outcomes of things as well. Are you guys staying involved in some of these, or do you plan to celebrate them? How do you work around some of the end products?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the kind words, and we're so happy about some of the outcomes that you've mentioned. We've continued a really strong relationship with Akron Public Schools, and we're excited about our continued partnership with them and seeing opportunities to continue to work alongside of them. We have team members this week that we're continue to work with Changemaker Challenge students that are that 8th grade capstone course through Akron Public Schools that you mentioned, that Prentice Park was part of that, and I know you were instrumental in that as well, and so grateful for your partnership. We see where we do best is helping connect community collaborators, right? And so we create space for middle schoolers' voices to be at the table and for the youth of Akron to have a voice and say in their community and as community experts and through their lived experience, and then to look for those community partners. So every week every session of camp, they go on site to a lot of different community partners, right? And we also bring community leaders on site to them so they can interview them. And so we look for those kinds of opportunities to make those connections. And then sometimes it's our team members. So one of our adventure curators has been working with the Pin at Akron group that's also working with Justin Lepley at the Northside Marketplace to see that idea through to completion. And then other times we look for those community partners that can help propel that idea forward with their resources and with their connections, whether that's the park initiative or others.
Thank you. And I noticed you have an arts and culture event this year, so hopefully you'll be coming back to Kenmore to visit some folks there. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? On my end, I would love to say, I love Tom Todd. I've been able to attend since it started. So glad to see it move around to some other parks. I think it's a great opportunity for our middle schoolers who sometimes feel unheard. And it's a great way for them to start in public service and all of those fine things. So thank you for your work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And what's your pleasure?
If you could, suspension of the rules be fine.
I'll make the motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah, 780, 780, 78,000.
Our next committee today will be the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Public Service Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Okay, it's 2 o'clock, and our next committee meeting of the day is the Public Service Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, DeShazier, Bolden, and Lombardo. We do have all committee members present except for Councilman DeShazier. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I'd like to call the public service meeting to order, please. We did host a meeting last week. If I could get approval of those minutes, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. We have 5 new pieces in front of us today, and I will ask Sarah if she can start to read those in, please.
Sure, and for the record, Councilman DeShazier is here. Item number 6 is an ordinance ratifying the actions of the Director of Public Service or his designee in contracting with Wingfoot Rental and Development Company for the emergency site preparation for the temporary location of the Lock 3 skating rink, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. And I see we have our Service Director, Chris Luttle, with us. Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. This legislation will allow us to pay the said contractor for work they performed before the Lock 3 project started. So as the bids were going out, we contracted with this contractor to come in under State Street Bridge, remove a lot of that material between the bridge and the back of Canal Park. And then they brought in materials, leveled it so we could install the skate rink for the 2 seasons while the construction was going on at Lock 3. The other part of this legislation is the work that they did on Bowery. They went into on Bowery Street and they removed a lot of the asphalt. That parking lot was in very poor shape, but they did remove a lot of the asphalt and graded that, brought in some other materials so we could put the topsoil down and then put the sod down for the what we called the Lock 3 backyard. The reason why this legislation's been held up a little bit because we thought when the project was completed they would be doing more work. We worked this out with them. Now that the project's done, the Lock 3 backyard is going to stay as green space. We're not putting the parking lot back, and the rink obviously has been moved over to the permanent rink. This is our first full season. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. I'll start with any committee members if they have any questions or comments, and any other council members with us. All right. Consent okay, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right, committee.
Motion for consent.
Second?
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll put that on the consent agenda. Moving on to the next piece, Sarah, please.
Item number 7 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with General Electric, GE, for the purchase of a GE iFix Global Care Complete Software Support Package for the Water Supply and Wastewater Bureaus for a 3-year period and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Hey, Chris, I'll return back to you.
Thank you, sir, and members of committee. This is a 3-year contract with GE iFix, which is for our gray matter systems in water and in wastewater. Most of our feed systems, pumping systems, they're all controlled by SCADA. This will allow us to keep the most up-to-date SCADA system in place, and they monitor and they help us with this project. So when you talk about water and you talk about feed system, it's chemical feeds, it's the pumping rates, the treatment, the flow through of the filters, the backwash, and also at wastewater, the same thing. It's the feed systems that we have. And it's also not able at both plants. They do have these the SCADA systems out in our pump stations. So if it's a water tower or a standpipe, or if it's just a general over in your ward, sir, on Archwood and Kelly, there's a pump station there for water. It's monitoring those things. But in wastewater areas where we don't have the availability of everything flowing in a gravity sewer, we have a sewer pump station where it may pick up a whole neighborhood. Then the SCADA system is controlling the level sensors and turning the pumps off and on to maintain flow of that pump station. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? All right, I don't see any other council members with us today. Okay, consent okay, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Committee?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. That's two pieces. Moving on to the third piece.
Item number 8 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the Nature Conservancy for the Water Resource Restoration Sponsor Program, project for the Kitty Todd Hauser Tract Addition, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Hey, Chris, back to you.
Thank you, sir, and members of committee. We have done this just about every year for the last probably 10 years, where we sponsor a WRRSP project through the state of Ohio. Typically, or usually, we look at projects that are on our lands, or how we can improve our wetlands, especially up in the watershed. This year, we had nothing that was programmed that would actually fall under the criteria of this program. So we are going to sponsor the Kitty Todd Nature Preserve, which is about 22 acres and they're going to restore 3 wetlands that were old farmlands that are no longer used for farming. So they're going to restore this land, and what's going to happen is this land is old farmland, like I said, west of Toledo, probably about 20 miles west of Toledo. And by doing this, all we are doing is contributing a portion of our interest for the sanitary sewer rehabilitation. So when we go out and get a loan, we're going to line and fix sewers through our program. The current interest rate is 3.34. And by sponsoring this program, and what you're going to do today is allow us to sponsor that, it's going to reduce our interest rate over that 45-year loan to 3.24. So what does that mean? What that means is when we go back to pay this loan back over 45 years, the 0.1% is going to save the city about $132,000. So they will take a portion of this interest, the state will, and they will contribute to this restoration project. And all we're doing is sponsoring this program, which at the end of the day allows us to save $132,000 over the life of the loan.
Thank you, Chris. Committee members, any questions or comments for Mr. Luddle? Any other council members with us today? I don't see anyone. All right. Chris, consent okay?
Yes, sir.
Motion
Committee?
for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Well, thank you. We'll put that on the consent agenda. Moving on to 9, please, Sarah.
Item number 9 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to file applications and enter into an agreement or agreements with the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account, with the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency, and with the Ohio Water Development Authority for planning, design, and/or construction of the NSSM Hudson Aurora Park Road Herrick Park Drive Water Main Extension Project, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Chris, back to you.
Yes, sir. And members of committee, this water main extension project is about, I think it's about 900 feet north of the turnpike. And what we're doing in this project is installing water main to connect 2 water mains on the streets that Sarah just read in, Heron Park Drive, up in Aurora Road. So what this legislation is just going to allow us to apply for the money to pay for this project. Like I said, we brought this to you back in December for the project. This legislation is allowing us to apply for an OWDA loan.
All right. Thank you for that. Committee members, any questions or comments? Any other council members with us? All right. I don't see anyone. Chris, is consent okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Motion for consent agenda?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to our final piece, Sarah.
Item number 10 is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of publicly advertising for bids with Ferguson Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of Octave fire meters and related parts and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of committee. This is one of the last pieces of our water meter replacement program. These are commercial water meters. Ferguson is sole source with us because it's such a specialized meter. So we are going to sell these to some commercial customers that have this system where their domestic water and their fire suppression water is in the same, going through the same meter. So this will allow us to purchase those meters, sell them to the customers, and then they will be on the same system and billing system that we will have with the current upgrade that we're doing through the program.
All right, well, thank you for that. Committee members, any questions or comments for Chris Sluttle? All right, any other council members? Wow, okay. Chris, is consent okay?
Yes, sir.
Motion
Committee?
for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, well, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Sarah, for reading those in. Nothing else come before us. We are adjourned.
Our next committee today will be the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Davis. Again, that's the Public Safety Committee, and it will begin at 2:15. Thank you. Okay, we are ready to begin the Public Safety Committee meeting. Again, those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Davis. We do have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Clerk Viviano. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. We have previous minutes to approve. If I could get a motion?
Motion to approve with the necessary corrections.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have one piece still on the regular agenda, which continue time with. We have two new pieces coming before us today. The first piece is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Law or her designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the Summit County Public Defender Commission and the County of Summit to provide legal service for indigent defendants of the Akron Municipal Court in accordance with the requirements of the Constitution of the United States with respect to the provision of legal representation to indigent defendants in the year of 2025, declaring an emergency. We have our law director here, Deb Matz.
Director of Law.
Yes.
So
go right ahead.
We enter into a contract annually with the Summit County Legal Defender's Office. The reason, by the way, that this is just a one-year contract is because that's all the Ohio Public Defenders Commission will let us do. Otherwise, we could do this for multiple year terms, but that's just not permissible under their rules. So in the past, the way that this has always worked is that the city and the Legal Defender's Office have entered into a contract. The amount of that contract in the past has been $880,000 approximately. And the Public Defender's Office would send us a quarterly bill and we would pay the quarterly bill in an amount that would total that $880,000. What we are going to do this year is different. So all of the other municipal entities with which the Summit County Legal Defender's Office has a contract pay by the case. And they pay $230 per case. So regardless of whether that case pleads out or it goes to trial or gets dismissed, whatever the outcome is, they pay $230 per case. And so we asked Andrea Whitaker, who is the director of the Summit County Legal Defender's Office, if she would be willing to try that out in Akron. Our volume obviously is a lot higher than Stowe Municipal Court or Barberton Municipal Court, but I still believe it would be a more correct and consistent way for them to handle us as that's how they handle all the other municipal entities. And so we are in fact going to go ahead and pay per case. Now, however, there is another wrinkle to this, and that's this. So what has always happened in the past is that the Legal Defender's Office would bill us. We would submit our information to Summit County, so we would submit to them the quarterly bill. Summit County would then send that bill down to the Ohio Public Defenders Commission. They would get reimbursed for whatever amount they're entitled to be reimbursed for under the reimbursement percentage that gets established by the state legislature, and that's currently around 78%, all right? And then they would send us the amount of the reimbursement that would apply to Akron Municipal Court cases. And you can see it's kind of a convoluted process, especially since it's the county technically that bears the responsibility for this whole process. And so in working with the county and the Legal Defender's Office, we have changed the way that that process works. So what's going to happen now is that the Legal Defender's Office is going to bill the county for our cases at $230 per case. The county will then do what they always do. They'll send that amount down to Columbus for reimbursement, but they will only then bill us the county will bill us for 22% of the amount of the legal defender's office bill, because that is the unreimbursed portion of the bill. So what we'll actually be paying is 22% of the amount that, I mean, if we were thinking about it in terms of the old way of doing it, it would be 22% of $880,000. Because we're now going to be billed per case, I'm not exactly sure how much that amount is going to be, but that's how the process should work. But it's new, so.
Okay, very good.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Lombardo.
So I was trying to follow the numbers. Is that why, you have budget costs of 820,000?
Or 820, that's it, not 880, I'm sorry. That's my fault.
Okay.
820.
And then the estimated cost would be 200,000. So that's roughly, well, it's 24%, but that's getting back to your unreimbursed cost of 22%. Is that why it's just 200,000?
Yes.
Yeah, so, yeah. Okay. So,
And I think when we started the budget process, by the way, we had not yet entered into that agreement with the legal defender's office in the county. So I think the budget still reflects the original 820,000.
Oh. Got an extra 500,000 or so.
I'm pretty sure I don't, but thanks for that thought, I appreciate it.
Right. Okay, so. Pardon me? Budget will be here at 3. Oh, sure, yeah. So maybe the old way, if the old way, you had a case, let me think. You would normally have, right now we're just saying $230, no matter if this case goes, like you said, pleads out or it goes
to trial.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, we're just on the hook for $230.
Yes.
In the old way, it would have been
just a flat amount.
20,000.
Billed quarterly.
Pardon me?
It would have been a flat amount billed quarterly.
A flat.
Regardless of the cost per case.
Okay. All right, so we're thinking this saves money.
That would be my assertion.
That's right, okay.
We're going to keep track of it, though.
Although.
To make sure that I'm right.
Although we have a high number of cases, more than other municipalities.
Yes, we do have a high volume. It fluctuates a little bit, but not a lot. Right. What fluctuates most widely is the way the cases, what their outcome is, whether they get tried or whether they get pled. There's a wide variety in the possible outcomes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilwoman Davis, do you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, Deb.
Hello.
I know you said you had a high volume, but how many estimated cases per year?
That the legal defender's office would handle?
Yes.
You know,
approximately.
I know that number with a fair amount of specificity, but if you think I can get that number to come out of my head right now, you're wrong. I want to say it's around 9,000.
Around 9,000 cases, okay.
Yes, between criminal and traffic.
Okay, so, and it's $230 a case. And I'm totally confused, okay? I'll be honest.
Hang on. I don't ever math without a calendar or a calculator.
And you said that would go to Columbus or?
No. So what goes to Columbus ultimately is the amount that the legal defender's office bills to the county.
Which would be $230.
Yes, $230 per case. That amount will be submitted to the Ohio Public Defenders Commission down in Columbus by
Right.
the county
Right.
with a request for reimbursement. And then
And
the
their reimbursed amount is?
78%.
Okay, okay. I get it now. Thanks,
Okay.
Deb.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other committee members or council members? Councilman Fusco?
Don't mind, thank you. Yeah, this is just a little confusing. What is the, and I'm sure it's heavily regulated, what is the, whenever somebody goes and says, I'm indigent and I need representation, how does that work?
So generally speaking, the court is required to make a determination of indigency in each case, all right? Typically, the legal defender's office does that work for them because they're the ones who have the very first contact with these folks. For example, if they get arrested, they are in jail. The legal defender's office speaks to them before arraignment, and if they determine that they're indigent, they make that assertion to the court on the record, and then the court will determine that they are in fact indigent, and the legal defender's office is who represents them at that point.
Oh, okay.
So there is absolutely a requirement that a determination of indigency gets made.
And the legal defenders, they're the ones who kind of present that to the court.
Yes.
In terms of saying this person's this. Okay, cool. And then they get, you say the total is 230, right? Per case, regardless of what happens, even if it goes into many steps and et cetera.
Yes. So typically, municipal court cases, because we're talking about misdemeanor cases, not felony cases.
Yeah.
Typically, they would last no more than 3 days. Most of them are shorter than that, even if they do go to jury trial. Then once the jury renders a verdict, or if it's a bench trial, once the judge renders the verdict, there's sentencing, and that, at that point, technically terminates the case for purposes of their representation, okay? If the defendant decides to appeal that determination, and the court assigns and at this point it would be the 9th District Court of Appeals. If the 9th District Court of Appeals then assigns the legal defender's office to handle that, it would be an additional $230 for that appeal, all right? Okay. But it may be that the 9th District determines that there would be a conflict between the legal defender's office handling the trial and handling the appeal, at which point they would appoint independent an outside attorney as opposed to the legal defender's office.
Gotcha. Do you have like data that we could look at from like the last couple of years? Just out of curiosity, I mean, I think
I do. I can get that data for you. I don't have it with me right now, but we produce that every year. So
good.
I
Yeah,
will
last
get that
like
for
3
you.
years, say.
Sure.
I think it'd be enlightening. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other council members or committee members? Would it be okay for a consent agenda so we can get the information then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Motion for consent.
We have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. And I should have that data for you this afternoon.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, we have another piece to come before us today. It is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with the city of Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the use of its training center and firing range by the City of Akron Police Department declaring an emergency. I don't believe we have anybody here to speak on it unless you would like to.
That one too.
Okay.
Because we looked over the contract, so obviously the APD does not have their own firing range. In the past, they have entered into a contract with the sheriff's office to use their firing range facility. At this point, I think there's a little bit of a financial benefit to using Cuyahoga Falls, and so that's the reason for this contract, although I think they're still planning to use the sheriffs for some of the training.
Yeah, maybe I could put a little more clarification on that, because we did discuss it today in Border Control, and I have some familiarization previously with it. But the range at Cuyahoga Falls is an indoor facility, so they're able to do low-light training and things of that nature that you wouldn't be able to do during the day in an outdoor range. And also different types of techniques, but the Summit County range is an outdoor range only, so that's the differential between the two of them. So there are some benefits to both.
They have an indoor range. It's just very expensive to use.
They do still have the
price
contract with both.
Typically increases every year, so.
Okay.
I think that's the financial benefit.
Okay. Any questions by any committee members or any council members? Would consent agenda be okay with this?
That'd be fine.
All right.
Motion for consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, we'll get that on the consent agenda. Thanks so much. I appreciate your time. We have nothing further to come before public safety. We will be adjourned. Thank you.
Our final committee meeting today will be the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Those committee members are Lombardo, Amobian, Fusco, Boyes, and Bolden. Again, that's the Budget and Finance Committee, and it will begin at 3 o'clock. Thank you.